the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Genesis 2:8. And Yahuah Elohim planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And out of the ground made Yahuah Elohim to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted, and became into 4 heads. The name of the first, Pishon, that is, it compasses the whole land of Shavilah, where there is gold, and the gold of the land is good. There is bdellium and the onyx stone, and the name of the second river is Gershon, the same it is compasses the whole land of Cush. And the name of the river is Shadikil, that is, which goes towards the east of Assyria. And the 4th river is Parath. And Yahuah Elohim took the man and put him in the garden of Eden to dress it and keep it. And Yahuah Elohim commanded the man, saying, Of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat of it, for in the day that you eat thereof you shall surely die. We know what happens next, as Eve is deceived by the serpent in the garden to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. But before we move on to that scripture, let's examine the 2 trees mentioned and see what does the scripture say about the identity of these trees. In scripture, trees represent individuals like in Judges 9:7-8. When this was reported to Jotham, he went and stood at the top of the Mount Gerizim and cried out with a loud voice, Hear me, lords of Shechem, and may Elohim hear you. One day the trees went out to anoint a king over themselves, so they said to the olive tree, Reign over us. And again in Daniel 4:20-22, the tree that thou hast sawest, which grew and was strong, whose height reached unto the heaven, and the sight thereof to all the earth, whose leaves were fair, and the fruit thereof much. And in it was meat for all, under which the beasts of the field dwelt, and upon those branches of the fowls of the heaven had their habitation. It is thou, O King, thou art grown and become strong, for thy greatness is grown, and reaches unto the heaven, and thy dominion to the end of the earth. Also again in Psalm 52:8, But as for me, I am like a green olive tree in the house of Elohim. I trust in the loving kindness of Elohim forever and ever. Trees can represent individuals, so who can the tree of knowledge of good and evil be? And who knows both the things of righteousness and the things of the carnal world? And who was in the garden with Adam and Eve? Hashatan was in the midst of the garden, as mentioned in Ezekiel 28:13. You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of Elohim. Every precious stone was your covering, the sardius, topaz, and diamond, beryl, onyx, and jasper, sapphire, turquoise, and emerald with gold. The workmanship of your timbrels and pipes was prepared for you on the day you were created. You are the anointed cherub who covers. I established you. You were on the holy mountain of Elohim. You walked back and forth in the midst of the fiery stones. You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created, till iniquity was found in you. As you can see from this passage, Lucifer was in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve. But is Lucifer ever described as a tree in Scripture? Isaiah 14:12-19. How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. How you are cut down to the ground, you who weaken the nations. For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of El. I will also sit on the mount of the congregation on the farthest sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet you shall be brought down to Sheol, to the lowest depths of the pit. Notice in verse 1 how you were cut down to the ground. This represents how a tree is when it is cut down. Ezekiel 28:19. But you are cast out of your grave like an abominable branch, like the garment of those who are slain, thrust through with a sword, who go down to the stones of the pit like a corpse trodden underfoot. Notice how Lucifer is mentioned as the abominable branch in verse 19. The name that Isaiah uses for Lucifer is Halil, and if you look up the Strong's 1966, you will find that Halil means shining one. The name used in Hebrew in Genesis to describe the serpent is Nakash. As a noun, it means serpent. As a verb, it means to divine. The Nakash means the diviner. As an adjective, it means shining. The Nakash means the shining one, just as the name Halil. Now the serpent, Nakash, was more cunning than any beast of the fields which Yahuah Elohim had made. He said to the woman, Yea, hath Elohim said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said to the woman, Ye shall not surely die. For Elohim doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. Hashatan, Halil, offered them all the knowledge of the earth, saying, He could make them as gods, knowing good and evil. This would let them judge for themselves what they thought to be right from wrong, filling their minds with all the things of the creation, but denying the Creator. This act of defiance is what separates man from their relationship with Yahuah, and still continues today. But the good news is, there's another tree, a tree in which if you eat from it, you will surely live. It is the tree of life. Satan is called the abominable branch in Isaiah, but our Mashiach is the righteous branch, or Zemek Zedekiah. Isaiah 11:1-5, And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of its roots, and the Ruach of Yahuah shall rest upon him, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge and the fear of Yahuah. Jeremiah 23:5, Behold, the days come, saith Yahuah, that I will raise unto David a branch of righteousness, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. The word used here for branch is Strong's 6780 Zemek, and the word righteousness is Strong's 6662 Zedek. Together they make the word Zemek Zedekiah, the righteous branch. Yahshua Hamashiach, the tree of life, who was placed in the tomb and rose on the third day in the midst of the garden of Gethsemane. John 19:41-42. Now in the place where he was crucified there was a garden, and in the garden a new sepulchre, wherein was never man yet laid. There laid they Yahshua before, because of the Jews' preparation day, for the sepulchre was nigh at hand. The tree of life planted in the midst of the garden, and rose on the third day in creation, when all the trees that bear fruit sprouted. John 15:5. I am the vine, you are the branches. If a man remains in me and I in him, he will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Genesis 1:12. And the earth brought forth grass, and the herb yielding seed after its kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. Psalm 85:9-11. Surely his salvation, Yeshua, is nigh them that fear him, that glory may dwell in our land. Mercy and truth are met together. Righteousness, Zaddik, and peace have kissed each other. Truth shall sprout from Zemach out of the earth, and righteousness, Zaddik, shall look down from heaven. David was prophesying of the coming Mashiach, the righteous branch, Zemach Zedekiah. Notice the word truth in this passage. It is the Hebrew word emeth, spelled Aleph, Mem, Tav. Yahshua said in Revelation 1:8, I am the Aleph and the Tav. Beginning and the end, says Yahuah, who is and who was and who is to come, El Shaddai. So in the word emeth, which means truth, you have the letter Mem placed in the middle of the Aleph Tav, showing rivers of flowing water coming out of the Aleph Tav. And the Aleph Tav is in Scripture over 7,000 times from the beginning to the end. It is the first letter of Yah's word to the last letter of Yah's word and everything in between, declaring the truth throughout eternity. Yahshua is the Word made flesh. John 1:14. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. John 7:38. Whoever believes in me, as Scripture has said, rivers of living water will flow from within them. This means that if you are in the Word, then the living water of truth will flow out of you. Revelation 22:1-2. Then the angel showed me the river of the water of life, bright as crystal, flowing from the throne of Yahuah and from the Lamb. Through the middle of the street of the city, also on either side of the river, the tree of life, with its 12 kinds of fruit, yielded each fruit each month. The leaves of the tree were for healing of the nations. Revelation 2:7. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Ruach saith to the churches. To him that overcometh, I will give to eat the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of Elohim. Mankind's fall was brought about by a lie in the Garden of Eden, and man's redemption would be born from the Garden of Gethsemane. The word of Yahuah, his beloved Ben Yahshua Hamashiach. John 15:5-17. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me, and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you remain in me, and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Now remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in his love. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you, that your joy may be complete. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends, for everything that I learned from my Father I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last, and so that whatever you ask in my name, the Father will give you. This is my command: love each other. Well, this is the end of our study. I just want to thank all of you for joining us today, and I wish Yah's blessing on all of you. Shalom.